I had to take a moment there to properly gush over the absolutely cinematic Archon quest of 5.1. I found myself getting genuinely emotional over the last battle sequence, not because of how many people were dying, even though that gave the quest so much gravity and consequence, but because of how hard everyone was working together to beat back this unanimous enemy. This is the Unlikely Genshin Gamer, and I'm going to try to explain why this quest, the Rainbow Destined to Burn, is the best one so far. Of course, if you haven't done the quest yet, you should turn around and do that first. This isn't a spoiler-free review because I kind of have to talk about it in depth to express how I'm feeling after the quest, and the new things we have to talk about. Now, with that out of the way, I'll begin with something that came to mind back when the Natlan Symphony performance came out. After I had listened to the song Natlan, the anthem of the nation, and had read its lyrics over and over, I thought to myself, man, I wish this could play during an epic battle or something. It's such a strong song for invoking the spirit of bravery and devotion to the nation and one another. And lo and behold, it did. When Mauvika took hold of everyone's enlightenment and sacrifices to turn on the ultimate power of the Ode of Resurrection, beginning the ultimate fight for survival, the song was the perfect backdrop to that battle, the bloodiest and fiercest part of that fight. Why was it the bloodiest though, you may ask? Well, it's because the Ode did not make it impossible to die. It made it possible to come back using the sacred flame indefinitely. That meant every warrior was able to fight to the fullest. No more dodging, no more evasive maneuvers, no more fear of death being the end of the fight. Like a berserker, they could go all out now, but they still took damage. If you reread the lyrics of the song Natlan, you'll realize this. The reason the song played continually across Natlan is because of what it is, the Ode of Resurrection, and it reminds warriors not to be afraid to shed your blood for the nation, because we will all bring you back. This means that the courage of the people was tantamount to unbreachable, a titanium will to not waver despite being run through again and again. So, if it took 3 tired old men a couple of respawns to take out a souped-up Lawa churl, now they could do it. If you had a lone mother trying to protect her injured children, it's okay if you go down. You'll be back in a moment to finish the job. Now, everyone could do their part, regardless of any recognition by the YUP. All you had to do is not fear. One of the most moving things to me in a narrative is unity. It was a perfect story direction for the nation of war to invoke the power to carry out that war to the absolute fullest extent. Those old guys who were willing to brave the monsters despite their lack of skill, that frightened guy who just wanted to be remembered as brave, the doctor who insisted to do what she could. If you don't fear death, then the Ode and the Archon's power will bring you back. And you know what else? It protected the Fatui as well. And that was a beautiful thing. I love when the Fatui are given the chance to shine, not just being the thugs everyone loves to hate. Because a lot of them are good normal people at heart who have to live a hard, divisive life. But under the noble captain, who took care of his soldiers as a captain should, their heroics could shine through as well. The alliance between the captain and Mauvika served as the backbone to let both parties know that in this fight for survival, they were now brethren. Every protection that the Natlanese had was there for the Fatui, and the captain ensured that the efficiency and firepower of the Fatui was at the ready for Natlan. The unification between the Fatui and the people of Natlan was not only inspiring, but very intriguing as well, because it highlighted something new about the Fatui and the Tsaritsa's cause. this is theory territory. You know I wouldn't be the unlikely Genshin gamer if I weren't also speculating about lore as well. This is a full-scale review after all. So buckle up, and while you're at it, listen closely. Before I continue, I want to take a moment to introduce you guys to the sponsor of today's video. My very first sponsor actually, so I'm pretty excited about that. TZ Audio reached out to me and sent this lovely new condenser microphone for me to test, the X2 Stellar. My audio is one of the most important aspects of my videos to me, so that was great. Now I need your feedback. How's the new sound quality? I've never had an XLR microphone before, and it's great so far. But the most important thing is if it's working for you guys too. So give me a line. Are you all liking the new mic? Thanks in advance for watching, you guys, and making this channel possible. And thank you, Tech Zone Audio, for the mic. Now that your ears are all primed and I've said my piece, let's talk about some lore. Starting with what the captain told us about the Gnosis mission, which actually changes what we thought we knew about the Tsaritsa's plan. The captain talked about all harbingers being given the freedom to pursue the meaning of their existence, which is actually a concept that kept appearing in this quest. What is the reason I'm here, and why am I what I am? Auroron wanted to know the same thing. And according to the captain, the Tsaritsa has allowed her harbingers free rein to investigate that, even at the expense of the Gnosis. That's right. He really said if the Gnosis still was within his grasp after fulfilling his own purpose, then he could give it to her. We saw this repeated to some degree with Scaramouche. Although Tartaglia was sent to look for him when he didn't return with the Gnosis from Inazuma, he was also still allowed to play at being a god with it, which was his life's dream. And of course, both he and the Gnosis served as playthings for Dotori. In the Polar Star weapon description, we see a pretty welcoming salute to all who've experienced disappointment, discontent, and discrimination. To come to the side of the Polar Star, and that together all will create a new, better world, one free of false promises and hurt. Now, while I think it's perfectly fine to discriminate against a guy who wants to experiment on little kids for fun, okay. On paper, it sounds like a beautiful idea, and she is completely committed to this. So, even while gathering the Gnosis for her plans, her harbingers can do what they've gotta do first. Which means the Gnosis can't really be pivotal in her plan, or else the whole thing could get tossed on the chance that a conflict of interest occurs, or one of them dies like Signora. Of course, they are important, but she couldn't take that approach with her harbingers if everything she is building towards hinged on the Gnosis exclusively. So now I'm back to my theory that she is less concerned about using them for something and more about getting them out of the way. The ones she has so far are being used on a chessboard, right? We'll have to wait and see, but Capitano's words have stirred up theories again. While we're talking about Capitano, the righteous Gigachad who has thrown his hat in with the Natlanese, I want to talk about his potential identity and address some rumors I've seen floating around. Firstly is the theory that he might be Anfortas. For those of you who don't know that name, Sumeru's World Quest informed us of a special soldier, a knight marshal, who operated the ruin golems, or mechanical wardens, with his swan knights. He was known as a true hero in the Sumeru front of the Abyss Wars. But the most important thing about him is that he had the authority to declare himself regent of the kingdom and initiate the Regnum Concilium Ultimatum, or Final Kingdom Council, deeming the Mad King Ermin unfit to rule and taking control of everything. Documents show him being addressed as Eminent Marshal. Furthermore, in most countries, the rank of Marshal or Field Marshal, is the highest military rank in the army, equivalent with a 5-star general. Because of the hidden note depicting the secret affairs of the Albrecht clan that Kaya has stashed away, we know that this Anfortas was an Albrecht, and he may even be the heroic king of Conria that Jean offers to tell the traveler about. It's very unlikely that the captain is the Radiant King in hiding. Besides, that would make him Kaya's super great uncle or something. Additionally, Anfortas lost his entire force in Sumeru. He couldn't have fled to Natlan with the rest of his platoon like Capitano did. In fact, he had to execute the very last of his men for devastating insubordination. Now, Capitano is referred to as a commander. That knight who betrayed Anfortas, Hadura, had the rank Knight Commander. This could possibly be the captain's rank from then. He could even have had a special title to go with that rank, further setting him apart from his peers. This same Hadura was granted the illustrious title Sentinel of the Golden Hall for heroic deeds before his betrayal. So, who knows, Capitano could be a special commander as well. Also, Anfortas lost an eye in the fight to kill Hadura, but Capitano shows no indication of that. So I really doubt he's Anfortas Albrecht. Another theory that's been floating around is that he is Perrin Harry. So who remembers who that is? Well, don't worry if you don't. That's a very obscure book. A book that Piero told Arlecchino to read if she wanted to learn more about her origins and the meaning of the Crimson Moon. In the book, we learn about a special orphanage that was built in Conria thousands of years ago in the alchemy-obsessed dynasty known as the Crimson Moon Dynasty. The orphanage was designed to find and nurture a child from outer space who could overthrow the heavenly principles. Basically, they were looking for a traveler. But they also took in other children who showed great potential. One of those children was Perrin Harry, who grew to be known as Perrin Harry the Undefeated. The name Albrecht came up as well. He was known as commander of half of the knights. Alf, the greatest warrior of the Universitas Magistrorum, and Enjord, a Beastmaster Knight who was to control the Rifthounds. This is all thousands of years ago. It would have been during Deshret's time perhaps, long before the Archon Wars. Now, it's very unlikely that Capitano could be from this roster of folk, partly because of the sheer age he would have to be. Such a senior in Conrian history, someone older than all the kings of the Eclipse dynasty, would be in a much more important position. He would certainly know Dane by more than just name, and he would have lost his family and comrades more than once by simply outliving them. The only people we currently know who can boast that sort of age are Rheindotter and Zhongli. And last but not least, Perrin Harry was not a pureblood. In fact, because he was a non-pureblood who was purged by the Crimson Fire, the one Arlecchino uses to wipe people's memories, he was actually free. He wouldn't be suffering from the curse of immortality like the captain is now. Our last clue to his identity, or rank, is what he said about both the Abyss Twin and Dainsleif. He mentions that his reluctance to harm the traveler is because of the role he held in Conria. That sounds like he was high enough to have dealings with the royal court. That's why the prince/princess knew him once upon a time. But at the same time, he wasn't as close as Piero, a royal mage, or Dainsleif, the captain of the royal guard. And he couldn't have been a part of the royal guard under Dane and only know his name, right? So, I'll end the Sherlock session with this. Capitano was almost certainly above the elite fighting force made up of the Black Serpent Knights, which Dane used to be, but is below the rank of Anfortas and possibly equal rank with Dane, but a different division. Which means he is in the perfect position to make a world-changing decision, that would make his name go down in the history books like a secretive deal to save a nation, which is exactly what he seems to be doing in his conversation with the Mistress of the Night Kingdom, who turned out to be a fully promoted level 100 Seelie. I'm telling you guys, this is what they looked like before losing their forms. Now we know why Deshret was so bewitched by the Mistress of Flowers, and why her power was pivotal in fighting the Abyss back then. Her master was almost certainly the Shade of Life. An angel of life and an angel of death, I suppose. But back to the captain's deal. He notes that Mauvika is marked for death because of Xbalanque's power. He obviously knows this because of previous dealings with Renova, the Shade of Death. But how? Shades don't talk to Archons if they can help it, much less people, not unless she was bargaining with him or punishing him. At the same time, we must ask ourselves, what is Capitano bringing to the table? He's like an untouchable at this point. He's been slated for eternal erosion instead of death by the Heavenly Principles, who no one wants to awaken, much less anger. So why bargain with him at all? Unless he has a compelling reason why the Ruler of Death should consider his proposal. His wording implies that whatever he is suggesting will keep Natlan safe for good now. We know Mauvika wants the same thing. Her plan is to head to the heart of the problem and blow it up, but it will then leave her people without their beloved Archon, based on the rule of death. Unless Capitano takes the hit, the Abyss will be dealt with, Mauvika's safe to continue protecting her people, and Capitano gets to stick one to the Heavenly Principles by finally getting his rest. Sounds nice and tidy, except Renova doesn't gain anything. That's why I'm inclined to think that this long journey that she has sent him on is in service to her somehow. What if she is looking to take back the Ode of Resurrection so she won't have to answer to the Heavenly Principles for letting a human have power over death? And Capitano alone knows this. What if Renova's deal with Xbalanque had a hidden back door? It's possible that by substituting a death, Mauvika is saved, but simultaneously the terms of the deal that provided the ode would then be breached, and then the process is nullified. Renova told Xbalanque that if he was not willing to die, the people would have to take the hit instead. But we don't know if she told him that that's an acceptable trade. Any Archon that was to let the people pay for their dalliance with death could have maybe ended the Ode of Resurrection. However, even if that was the case, in this trade it would be okay, right? No harm would come of it because Mauvika would have been successful in her campaign against the Abyss, and then Pyro Archons would no longer be destined to die, living mere human lifespans. Now, that sounds like more of a reason to risk getting on the Primordial One's bad side again. A more balanced exchange, if you will. And as I mentioned Pyro Archons and their human lifespans, I'd like to take this moment to double down on my theory about the people of Natlan being related to the dragons. The Mistress of the Night Kingdom explains that Phlogiston is from the Light Realm. Another name for that realm was the Vishat Realm, because only elemental beings like the dragons could use its energies. They were too pure for normal humans. Phlogiston is also the source material for the rest of the 7 elements, and only Natlanese can use it in its primal form. When Mauvika harnessed all her potential to break a hole in the friggin' sky, she was using multicolored primordial fire. Also, not only do the people of Natlan wield the primordial elements, the ones that only dragons can use, but she knows things that not even Nahida, the keeper of Irminsul, knew, because its knowledge only the dragons had. Descenders aren't written into Irminsul's records, but Mauvika and even Sitlali know all about Descenders and what they can do. Shilonen showed no surprise to this term either. Mauvika is even aware of the false sky rumor. This is all information that Nahida had to trade her Gnosis to Dotori for. Which now has me wondering if the Fatui have access to the Cryo Dragon, why they were able to gain knowledge that a being bound by Irminsul can't have normally. There has been a lot to go over, and I didn't even touch on the false sky because that needs its own video. In case you didn't realize from the beginning of this video, I love this quest. I can't wait for what's coming next and for more map expansions, because I need more reasons to run around this beautiful land and listen to the peaceful music. I hope Capitano isn't going to die, but if it turns out to be true, although I will lament the loss of such a beautiful character, one cannot begrudge the man his rest after such a valiant track record. If not, I'd be really interested to see how they get Mauvika out of this, after making a point of emphasizing that death is a rule that can't be broken, even by a descender. Which begs a question that I don't have time to discuss right now, but I'll bounce it off to you guys. If descenders can't break the rules, only rearrange fate, what rules is the first descender, the primordial one, bound by? Anyway, let me stop here. I need to know what you all are thinking, so please don't be shy. Make sure to like, subscribe, and especially share this video if you enjoyed it. Sharing works wonders for my channel, so spread the fun. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.